I don't think that the 1940 failing decision was just a clunky decision. It's logically inconsistent. The 1940 failing decision is about, a person having a right to shoot a dog if they're, chasing and then later on barking at dogs within 10 to 15 feet. It's called the Dog Worrying Stock Law. Dogs cannot worry the livestock. It wasn't just clunky, it was logically inconsistent because at the end, they said that it was okay that Mr. Failing had shot and killed the dogs. That's alright. No problem whatsoever. Even though Mr. Failing hadn't shot a warning shot, he didn't throw a stick, he didn't throw a rock, he didn't even say, hey, you dogs, get the hell out of here. He didn't even give them a command. No commands. The Continuum of Force, he ignored all of the before, lethal force, like 4 or 5 steps and just went straight for lethal force. So the law in Colorado is that dogs cannot run, worry, or injure. Those are the 3: run, worry, or injure. They can't even worry the damn cows, which is, nobody should be worried about chasing, barking, rabid dogs look like they're about ready to, chew into you. Unless you're trespassing, unless you provoke them, unless you do, unless you're a criminal piece of shit. Make sure you go vote for Sol Sandoval. That'd be a nice answer to that white trash piece of shit, huh? Give him a working class Chicana. How about that, America? Throw a bunch of fucking white bunch of fucking lying bullshit our way. How about this, America? We need to get back to our indigenous roots anyways. But it was logically inconsistent because in the very beginning, Mr. Failing had saw the dogs chasing the cows. But the Supreme Court of Colorado said it would not have been okay if Mr. Failing would have killed them at the time. So the dogs are chasing the cows, but it's not okay to shoot them. Why not? That's worrying the cows, it's chasing them, and what was the other one? It's running, right? Running, worry, it's not injuring. So there's no injury yet. So they're saying that it has to be close to an injury. It has to be crystal clear that the dogs are worrying and, chasing in order to injure. Is that what they're trying to? That's the only way if you're to force some logic into it. Because Mr. Failing goes back to his house, gets a rifle, and then after he gets a rifle, goes to the same damn field, says it's the same dogs, same cows, and it's not even, it's supposedly his land. It's land that he claims, but it's not his cows, and it's not his dogs. So, Mr. Failing shoots and kills the dogs when they were barking at the cows. The cows are 10 to 15 feet away, and the cows' heads are down. That's all it says. So the dogs are barking at the cows. They're 10 to 15 feet away. The cows' heads are down. So no more running, no more chasing. It didn't say that they were backed into a corner. Hell, they could have just been having a conversation. But according to the Supreme Court of Colorado, that's when it's okay to shoot and kill the dogs. So you can't just kill the dogs when they're running the cattle. But if you go get your gun and come back and they have pinned the cows in and they're closing in on the cows, then and only then are you allowed to kill that Otto Bach. Who is this asshole Otto Bach? Has Otto Bach ever had a damn dog in his life? Now there was 2 laws that were competing back in, this is 1940, but there was a law in Colorado that said every person who needlessly kills an animal shall, upon conviction, be punished. So you have the dog worrying stock on one side, right? The 35, 43, 126. 35, 43, 126. For all you pansy motherfucker about the wolves. Oh my gosh. They're going to release a wolf all the way in northern Colorado in the middle of nowhere. How many are they going to release? Like 3 of them? Why are you afraid of that? I don't want to give any living creature a chance at all. If it's not going to go in the national forest, it's got to go in the zoo. You're just going to wipe everything out to extinction? Bafamgu, no dog can chase after sheep or cows or other livestock, and that the owner of the dog shall be responsible for all the damages done by the dog. So, Mr. Failing, kills and he's okay. He doesn't get thrown in jail for that. The owner doesn't have to pay nothing because there's actually no damage done. There's no damage done. What little bit of, running around, they give him a little bit of exercise. Them fat ass livestock needed to run around anyways. So they went ahead and when they compared the two, here's another major holding of the 1940 Failing decision. When you have two contradicting statutes, you err on the side of the defendant. So there was, no animal cruelty, and then there was don't let the dog worry the livestock. So did he know about the law? Was he being inconsistent with the law? Is he just an asshole just shooting people's fucking dogs because he, wants to see people's dogs die? Here's immediately prior to the shooting, Mr. Failing saw a pack of dogs running a small bunch of cattle on land claimed by him. He then went home and returned with the rifle. From the time he first saw this running of cattle by the dogs until he returned with his gun and shot the dogs was about 5 minutes. A killing under Section 40 Supra is authorized only when the dogs are found running or worrying cattle. There's no contention here that there is any injury to the cattle. If nothing further had occurred, the killing would not have been authorized. Why not? The dogs are chasing the cows. Why would that not be authorized? The dogs are chasing the cows. That's running. You can't worry them, you can't injure them, and you can't chase them. So, why? I don't understand that. Why wouldn't it be authorized? And then it says later on, when defendant returned with the gun, it's agreed that the dogs were barking at the cattle, which were 10 or 15 feet away. From them, the cattle under these circumstances were found facing the dogs, which with heads down. Did this constitute worrying within the meaning of Section 40? We think it did. The word as used in statute, similar to ours, has been defined as follows: to run after, to chase, to bark at. Words and phrases, first series, page 7526. Here, the fact that the dogs were barking at the cattle which stood facing them with heads down clearly brings the case within this definition. See also Johnson v. McConnell, Marshall v. Blackshire, Campbell v. Brown, Miss Pennsylvania grants cases, Bass v. Knopfsinger, and some other bullshit. So we see two holdings, right? Two holdings. Basically, if a dog or a wolf is worrying cattle, you could shoot and kill it, no questions asked. The other holding is, in Failing v. People, the principles are laid down that where a criminal statute admits of two constructions, that which is more favorable to the defendant shall be preferred. So, was he being cruel to the animal, or was it the dog worrying livestock law? The dog worrying stock. So they went ahead and applied the dog worrying stock law to the thing, because when a criminal statute admits of two constructions, that which is more favorable to the defendant should be preferred. Where a criminal statute admits of two constructions, that which is more favorable to the defendant is to be preferred, is also from Brooks v. People, some Colorado case. The raising of livestock still being one of Colorado's important industries, Section 40 perhaps is necessary for the protection of cattle, or perhaps dogs are now sufficiently domesticated so that their killing should be prohibited under the circumstances. Opinions may very well differ on the matter. This, however, is not our concern. Ours is only to give proper effect to such legislation. Waters v. People, another Colorado case, an 1896 case. With such legal sanction as is provided by Section 40, a dog's life continues to be more hazardous in rural than in urban territory. Evidently, the clash is between the economic and the aesthetic. We may sympathize with the aesthetic, but positive law must control. The judgment is reversed and case remanded with directions to dismiss the complaint. Now, this is a note about warning shots. Now, in geopolitics, warning shots are used all the time. They're used all the time. Just a couple, here. between Iran and America during the Iran nuclear deal. They were trying to re-enter the nuclear deal. In April and May of last year, 2021, you had Iranian naval vessels that were speeding towards the U.S. Coast Guard, and at least 2 occasions, the U.S. Coast Guard had fired several warning shots. So the first time, no warning shots are reported, but you have April 2nd, 2021, 4 Iranian ships, including 3 fast attack boats and a support vessel, came within 70 yards, 210 feet, of 2 Coast Guard cutters. This American ships, right? So 2 American ships, 4 Iranian ships, 3 fast attack boats, a support vessel within 210 feet. Within 210 feet. No warning shots are reported. Now, April 26, 2021, 3 Iranian fast inshore attack ships again, 3 fast attack boats, had provoked 2 U.S. Coast Guard boats over a 3-hour period. That sounds like the exact same thing, doesn't it? Repeatedly crossing in front of their bows at extremely close range, i.e. 68 yards, so a little. Apparently in the April 26th incident, the Iranian ships failed to exercise due regard for the safety of other vessels as required under international law as they came into close proximity to U.S. naval vessels in international waters of the North Arabian Gulf. The U.S. Fifth Fleet said in a statement the Iranian armed speedboats rapidly approached U.S. Navy patrol coastal ship USS Firebolt and U.S. Coast Guard patrol boat USCGC Baranoff, coming within 68 yards of both U.S. ships. The 2 American crews who were conducting routine maritime security operations in international waters at the time issued multiple radio warnings and loud hailer devices. Radio warnings, loud hailer devices, but the Iranian ships continued. What's a hailer device? Continued their maneuvers. The crew of Firebolt then fired warning shots, and the Iranian vessels moved away to a safe distance from the U.S. vessels. According to the statement, the Iranians' actions increased the risk of miscalculation and/or collision and were not in accordance with internationally recognized maritime customs, the U.S. Navy stated. This is the second incident in April involving Iranian ships. And then May 10th, 2021, a U.S. Coast Guard cutter fired 2 volleys of warning shots, totaling approximately 30 shots fired total as a large group of Iranian fast boats conducted unsafe and unprofessional maneuvers near U.S. naval vessels in the Strait of Hormuz on Monday. Pentagon spokesman John Kirby said CNN in the Persian Gulf's Strait of Hormuz in what the Pentagon called unsafe and unprofessional maneuvers by the naval arm. 6 U.S. Navy boats were escorting the USS Georgia, a guided missile submarine, when they encountered a group of 13 Iranian fast attack boats. Kirby told reporters the boats approached the U.S. Navy vessels at high speed, coming as close as within 150 yards after the U.S. All right, so we get the idea, right? So the Iranian, let's take it on the face, prima facie, it looks like Iranian fast boats are fucking with the Coast Guard. Driving all about and everywhere. Oh, yeah, you think you're tough guys, huh? What you gonna do? We're driving all over here. Maybe they're showing off. Maybe they're showing off and we're just, misinterpreting the whole thing. But instead of, shooting and killing them or blowing them up, instead, America decided to fire warning shots. And by firing warning shots, the Iranian fast boats backed away. There was no damage, no injury. And it seems like everybody goes home safely and soundly. Seems like, what if it was, a misinterpretation? You wouldn't want to just come straight up and shoot. You got a whole continuum of force, right? Continuum of force is command, stop. Stop, you're under arrest. Stop, you're under arrest. And then what? And then hands. No, come here. That doesn't work, then weapon. Get over here. And if that doesn't work, then you're allowed to use lethal force. But that's the last step. That's the last final step. Johnny Hurley, they went straight up and killed Johnny Hurley. if they would have added warning shots to the Continuum of Force, or if they accepted warning shots as part of the Continuum of Force, Johnny Hurley would be alive today. And it's not just international politics. There's an Italian vessel in Israel. June 4th, 2022, Italian vessel is going to, well, let's go in order. On May 24th, 2022, this is this year, this is less than 1 month ago. Less than 1 month ago, Virginia Morrison warned the intruder, back off, dude, or I'll shoot you, and she did. Virginia Morrison shot and killed Ezekiel Rosario Torres, 38 years old, who had entered Virginia's home and refused to leave, even after many non-lethal tactics were utilized to no avail. Ezekiel just opened the door to Virginia's house and just stood there. Virginia Morrison says, "Who are you?" Ezekiel, who's legally blind, Virginia Morrison didn't know that. He had a blank expression on his face. Ezekiel never said a word the whole time that he was in Virginia Morrison's house. Virginia Morrison tells her roommate, husband, lover, I don't know, Charlie. Virginia Morrison says, "Hey, Charlie," 80-year-old Charlie, her roommate, to get his .45. Ezekiel still doesn't move. Virginia Morrison tried to hit Ezekiel with a broom, like shooing him away, but he just swatted that away. So he's still, Ezekiel Rosario Torres is still agile, swatting brooms away. 80-year-old Charles, fires a warning shot. These are two old people, 80-year-old Charlie and 69-year-old Virginia Morrison. Charlie got his .45, fired a warning shot into the ground after he had called 911. Then, Virginia grabbed her gun. Virginia grabbed her gun. Now everybody's on the run. So Virginia Morrison grabs her gun. She goes out the back door. He's not in the house anymore. So he's in the backyard or something. She goes towards him, but she says that Ezekiel started to walk towards Virginia. So he's out in the backyard. She says, "Hey, what you doing?" Turns around. "Hey." He doesn't say nothing. Virginia Morrison fires a warning shot above his head. Boom! And warned him, "Back off, dude, or I'll shoot you." Ezekiel kept on coming. So Virginia killed him. Ezekiel's daughter voiced no grudge. "I don't blame her," she said to Virginia, like I get it. My dad wanted to die. I think he was just hoping they had a gun, and they did. Virginia Morrison said, "I got feelings. I got God in my life. That's the main thing. Wondering if God's going to forgive me for taking a life. I got feelings. It bothers me." So who's going to argue with Virginia Morrison or Charlie firing their warning shots? One fired a warning shot into the ground. Another fired a warning shot up over his head. They yelled to get out. They told him to leave. They hit him with a broom. They called 911. They did a whole bunch of things. Now, it is interesting he was in the house and then he goes outside the house and then she goes and confronts him. Did she turn him around? Was he walking away? And it makes it look like he's on drugs, but if he's legally blind, anyways. June 4th, 2022. Okay, going back to geopolitical. So that's America. That's Florida. So in Florida, a 69-year-old and an 80-year-old fired two warning shots before they shot and killed this guy. And who would argue, "Hey, you should have just straight up murdered him." He could have just been old and lost and walked into somebody's house, just straight up murdered him, just straight to step number 5. Go straight to step 5. No, do step 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if you got to do step 5. And only if, really he's coming at you, you're pinned up against the wall, he's trying to harm you, hurt you. If he is drugged out, is he damaging your property? Is he just standing there drooling on himself? Just kind of push him out, into the street, then if that's the case. June 4th, 2022. So this is 13 days ago, less than 2 weeks ago, an Italian vessel intervened to help 2 Italian fishing boats who were sailing in international waters, allegedly, when a Libyan patrol boat had approached them. The Libyan patrol boat fired several warning shots in the air, which did not cause any injuries or damage, and the Libyan patrol left the area after the Italian vessel arrived at the spot carrying a medical team and members from the Marina San Marco Brigade. So were they right? Were those two Italian fishing boats in Libyan waters? Or were the Libyan police boat, the Libyan Navy, were they firing warning shots where they shouldn't have been? June 6, 2022, Israel fired warning shots at Lebanese soldiers crossing the Blue Line in the Raman Ridge area. The Blue Line, which runs for 120 kilometers along Lebanon's southern frontier. This is a line of withdrawal set by the United Nations in 2000 for the purpose of confirming the withdrawal of Israeli forces from South Lebanon. On Friday, June 9th, 2022, in Natchez, Mississippi. Again, we're coming back to America. And this isn't between nations, this is between neighbors. In Natchez, Mississippi, you had one guy who was breaking windows on one house, apparently I guess trying to rob him or something. Then he goes to another house, and he was trying to kick a metal security door in the carport. The homeowner fired a warning shot, paused, then shot the guy, shot him in the arm, and it goes through his body, and it kills him. EMS declares, Mr. Break everybody's windows, dead on arrival. He fired a warning shot. Who would sit there and say, no? Why did he, shoot a warning shot? Why did he even give him a chance? Why wouldn't you give him a chance? Firing a warning shot when they did it, who was it? When Libya did it, Libya should have just shot and killed those Italian fishers? Is that what you're saying? Israel should have just shot and killed the Lebanese? The Coast Guard should have just shot and killed Iran, the Iranian vessels? It makes sense to have a continuum of force. Our soldiers have it. Our police have it. They learn it in the academy. Maybe Americans should have it. Maybe the idea of deputizing and giving everybody police powers, maybe that is the solution. Now, just a couple personal experiences. I had a couple of my dogs had run off. This is in Costilla County. They had run off. And they went towards the RV junkyard. So this guy, he's just got this junkyard, a bunch of RVs all over the place. I used to wave at him, and then, turns out he's a criminal piece of shit. But before or after, I don't know, sometime during, my dogs run off. They're going towards the RV junkyard neighbor's place. I yelled for my dogs to come back, but to no avail. Then I heard a couple of gunshots, pow, pow. I stared at my dogs to see if any of them dropped. None of them did. And then they slowly but surely walked, back to the house. Walked away from the RV junkyard, back to my house. But I'm not too sure that they understood the danger that they were in. Regardless, I told this older white Conejos woman, Alice, about this. And she said that was a good thing. About those warning shots. That's probably the most, generous we could probably be. Yeah, sure, warning shots. Or maybe he's a bad fucking shot. But warning shots. She said it was good because that's a good lesson for my dogs in order to stay away from that house. Now they know to stay away from that house. And being generous, yeah, I can see her perspective. But my perspective was, maybe he's just a piece of shit trying to shoot at my dogs. I hope he was just firing off warning shots. Now, many, many years ago, God, when I'm 18, so 22 years ago, when I'm still in high school, I drove to my friend's house right after I'd got off work. I'm working at Pilot. I'm working at a gas station in Richwood, Kentucky. Now, my friend Justin had got off an hour earlier than me. I'm going to say 11 p.m. I'm pretty sure these are the right times. And I figured he'd still be up. Although it was midnight, I get off work. And while I'm driving home, I say, well, I'm going to go stop by Justin's place. He lives at the back end of a holler. And when I drove back there, immediately, as I got to where, they parked on the road, think they had like a little drawbridge and they were kind of up in the woods. As soon as I parked in that parking spot, I heard a shotgun blast. Pow! And then somebody was shouting, "Get the hell out of here!" And slowly but surely, I'm turning around like, you don't have to tell me twice. And as I'm driving around again, pow! "You better stay out of here!" And then I drove on. And actually, I never told Justin about that, but, you guys dealing drugs or something back here? I didn't know. I did not know that's what you guys were doing. That's not my fault. I just want to say hello to my friend. And, hell, we like smoking pot, so, yeah, that would have been pretty cool, too, to hang out with my buddy and smoke some pot in the backwoods of Kentucky. I guess it's Gallatin County. Is that backwoods? There's some backwoods there. And then that's a note about warning shots. So you see warning shots are used over and over again in the Continuum of Force. I think it's logical, it's smart, you say, "Hey, stop what you're doing. You're under arrest." And even if you get to lethal force, even when you get to, you tried a taser, you tried pepper spray, you tried a stick, you tried rocks, you tried yelling, you tried about 5, 6, maybe 20 things. I think that would actually make me try 20 goddamn things. Once you try 20 things, if you're able to, if the person gets fucking crazy and comes right at you, then you don't have a choice. If he pulls his weapon, right? But if they're just being crazy, and you're not exactly for sure what they're doing, I think using a continuum of force for everybody in all things is probably smart. Simple command, hands and feet, non-lethal weapons, then lethal weapons. But I say make lethal weapon shoot to kill the final option. With a lethal weapon, you could fire a warning shot. So in the continuum of force, you could add a warning shot. And there is an inherent danger. If there's some kind of shootout and you gave them a half a second. But I think being the police officer, for better or worse, you got to serve as the example. And we see over and over again, and geopolitical for the Italians and the Libyans, for the Israelis and the Lebanese, for the Americans on the left-hand side of the street and on the Americans on the right-hand side of the street. For the Americans and the Iranians, warning shots were good things in every one of those incidents. It didn't save the person's life in all the incidents, but at the very least, that warning shot, that person should have felt that bang inside their body. That could happen to you. And it's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. The warning shot is merciful and humane. Yeah, I think warning shots are just fine. Just fine. Some shit's going down and you fired a warning shot. Yeah. So in Colorado jurisprudence, LexisNexis, the only thing they say about warning shots is that failing case. And they said that you could just straight up shoot a dog if it's worrying the livestock, right? If it's chasing them and then growling and they're 10 to 15 feet away. But they didn't have to shoot warning shots. But that's it. So this warning shots hasn't been adjudicated in Colorado law. At least not in case law. And again, when you rather just a couple warning shots happen instead of a bunch of dead bodies, who the hell are you? Who the fuck are you to say that that's... no, I just want massacre. Why would you want something like that? How many, even though some of those turned into fatalities, how many of those warning shots saved lives? Especially the geopolitical ones. And if it's smart for nations to, shoot warning shots, why wouldn't it be smart for neighbors? Isn't that, you're supposed to treat thy neighbor as thyself? Isn't that something Christianity, Jesus, what was it? The Golden Rule, the New Testament. What was this problem with that damn fig tree?